is its youth, so we must ensure that we provide them with as many resources as possible.
واذكر ربك إذا نسيت وقل عسى أن يهديني ربي لأقرب من هذا رشدا ولا تقولن لشيء إني فاعل ذلك غدا إلا أن يشاء الله واذكر ربك إذا نسيت وقل عسى أن يهديني ربي لأقرب من هذا رشدا ولا تقولن لشيء إني فاعل ذلك غدا إلا أن يشاء الله واذكر ربك إذا نسيت وقل عسى أن يهديني ربي لأقرب من هذا رشدا بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
The layout for this program will consist of a presentation featuring two top professionals in the teaching and academic community, Sisters Amanda Shaban and Zahra Rustam. Then it will be followed by a panel featuring current and past high school students. We will open the floor for questions right after. At this time, I would be honored to welcome Sisters Amanda Shaban and Zahra Rustam after a loud salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum. So my name is Amanda Shaban. I am a language arts teacher, history teacher, and ESL teacher over at ESAP in Canton. And I was asked just kind of to present over here about different aspects of the community system, especially when it comes to your children, whether they're middle schoolers going into high school or high schoolers going into college. Different ways in which, different tracks they can take, different supports, just different classes that they can take. Do we have that PowerPoint presentation? No, the one right before it, please. Okay, so one of the first things that I wanted to mention, and I think it really just depends on how well you are, kind of like how familiar you are with the system, is ensuring that the first thing you do is build a relationship with your student's counselor, but also with your student's teachers. And that really just depends on finding which teachers you really need to work on. If your student has a strength in an area, you might not really need to work there. But if they don't, it's imperative that you work with all the supports that are available. So I tell parents first and foremost, if you need to start, your first place to start is making sure that you have access to their online record. A lot of times parents who are new here, who don't know the system, aren't aware that you can actually see what's going on with your students' grades, who their classes are, who their teachers, what are their teachers' emails, all that, all those logistics. It's just sometimes they're not aware of these things. And if we're going to look at it from the professional aspects, I teach high school. Not all kids, but some kids are going to get away with what they're going to try to get away with and tell you, oh, no such system exists. They exist. You just have to know the system. Can you go to that slide, please? Oh, no one right before it, please. I wanted to actually have Sister Zahra talk about learning the system because she has some insight on that.
Assalamu alaikum. So for us, as an immigrant myself, I have seen in my professional experience that a lot of time, like parents who might have in some cases language barriers, they are very hesitant of like even reaching out to school resources. So for me, as a immigrant person, I did not do high school from here. So for me, it was a challenge to understand when my daughter was in middle school and preparing for high school, what is the best program to look for, what to look for. My most important resource, I would say, was community itself. Community people, reach out to people. A person sitting next to you might have a really important advice for you. So feel free, don't be hesitant. A center, it could be a center, it could be your neighbor, it could be any person. Reach out, don't feel ashamed or hesitant that I don't know and maybe it's going to look a little bit like, weird that I don't know. Hesitation, shyness is a human nature. So that is fine. Reach out, get over with that shyness. It's important to understand what your kids are about to start. Even that is a high school or is a college, try to be one step ahead of them in terms of learning the system. For me, even differentiating between IB program or AP program, I literally learned everything from scratch. I cannot emphasize enough that this is not very difficult. You have a lot of resources, you just have to reach out and grab them. So then more technical stuff like what resources are in the high school system, I think Sister Amanda will be.
So when it comes to different aspects within the high school, and my experience is strictly within the high school, and that's where, middle school is so contained, high school is not contained at all. And a lot of the times it's a culture shock and a reality shock for our parents and for our students. 9th grade is very difficult when it comes to the kids navigating 6 different expectations from 6 different teachers. Middle school, their teachers tend to run on teams. So whatever language arts teacher is doing, they're most likely collaborating with the history teacher and the math teacher, so they all have a system. High school is not like that. Every teacher has their own system. That's what throws kids off in the beginning. 9th, 10th grade year, it's a learning curve for them. Try to be patient, but don't just say, oh, they're in high school now, they can handle it. Trust me, they can't. They need that support. Another thing that a lot of parents don't know about is the resources that are available if your kid is struggling. A lot of the times within our community, we just think that, oh, we got it. Just maybe a little bit more, maybe just being a little bit more strict at home. Maybe it's taking away this activity. Okay, but sometimes there's things that just might not work. For example, some kids really might need an extended time on assignments because they overthink things. Go to their counselor and ask, what are my kids' resources? They can get a response to intervention. That puts extended time that teachers must follow. Maybe your kid needs a 504. Basically, that's just another plan where kids can get extended times on assessments, homework assignments. If they need a break, they can take a 5-minute break. There are these resources available. You just kind of have to ask and know how to approach the subject. last thing that I wanted to say is when it comes to having your child be more social within the high school world, it's encouraged. You want them to kind of get a little bit more out of their element, but within reason. Within reason. They should still have high expectations, but should be encouraged to attend those extracurricular activities, start their own extracurricular activity, participate in some sort of sport that they enjoy, if it's a sport. So high school tracks. So I'm going to speak about my experience between two separate districts. So I've taught in Dearborn, and now I'm in Plymouth Can Public Schools. Each district has their own track. So in Plymouth Can, for example, there's an arts track, there's an international baccalaureate track, there's a STEM track, there's just a basic regular track that does not have a focus for kids. They're just taking their classes and still kind of deciding what they want to do in their future career. That's okay. There is nothing wrong with that. A lot of the times our parents who with middle schoolers assume my kid needs to know what they're doing right by 9th grade. They will change their minds 100 times. Unless your kid is set on what they're going to do and you can kind of start building those classes with them, it's okay for them to change their mind. Conversations about what your kids might want to start doing typically occur in the 8th grade. I had a few parents approach me right around August stating, oh, my child wants to join this class or my child wants to be on this track. Unfortunately, those decisions are made in May and June. So it's not easy to tell the school, change my child. Most often what they're going to do is they're going to tell you have to wait a year to change your child. So be sure that if your kid is on a specific track, you understand the logistics of that track. IB programs run on an entirely different grading scale and have different curriculum than an AP class. STEM classes, they're required to take their own set of classes. You just have to know the system. Some people don't choose to even take AP classes, which I always say is fine. They'll just stay doing their classes that are offered by the school, and then they will choose what they want to do as they get closer to their college career. Now, those are tracks that are offered within this community. That's not to say that that's the only way to go. A lot of parents think my kid has to know what they're going to do. Okay, well, in this community, in North Villanova, they're fortunate to have those tracks. In other districts, they don't have set tracks like that within a specific school. Kids are just taking, the assigned courses with AP classes built in there. So it's not one model fits all kids. It's you have to know your own kid and see what your kid is interested in. I think you wanted to do this.
Before you will do this one, I just wanted to touch bases as a parent's perspective. Before going and picking and just making a decision that which track is going to be fit for your kid, the most important thing is voice your opinion, have an honest discussion with your child. You're not going to be able to go anywhere without having established what is the goal, what we are looking for, and how to set reasonable expectation, what my kid can or want to do, and how we can achieve that. So have a very realistic approach about this thing. Talk to your kid, understand their needs, their wants, what do you want, and kind of come to a common ground. Don't make decision for them, but you should be part of their decision. Kids are you listen to your kids, talk to teachers. So use yourself as a parent as a guide, and as a person on the team of your kid. It's not about us as parent. We have done it, what we needed to, we wanted to do. This is our kids' time. So we should be very open about it. At the same token, as a parent, when you discuss and you let your decision guiding them, making their own decision, you have to tell them that is now their responsibility. You are kind of taking a step back, but at the same time, set accountability rules for your kids. Try to figure it out your own game plan, but they should be held accountable, and that as a parent, our duty is that we should, this is again maybe kind of my personal experience as my I consider it as my duty as a mother of a high schooler. Like, you made the decision, we are following through the program and all the goals, but now at the end of the day, you are accountable. So whatever the goals you guys you decide in your own household, that this is the goal which we want to achieve, also set the limits, that where and when the accountability is going to be done. So that is, as a parent, that was my perspective, what I wanted to share.
Which is pretty much the same thing that I would agree with. But then from the educator standpoint, that depends on the child. You know your kid. Some kids, I can say, phenomenal. Wow, they got it. And their parents are just their cheerleaders in the background because they're great. And these kids are great. Some kids, they need more guidance from their parents, and that's also just fine. You know your kid. We as community members, we see each other's children, but you know them because you're living with them. You know what their habits are. You know what their strategies are. You know if your kid is a procrastinator. Not every kid is the same, which is what makes them unique. So within reason, watch your own kid to see what they're doing. If you have a kid who knows their track, they know what they're going to do, they know which classes they're going to take, phenomenal, leave them. But sometimes we have kids who just need that guidance, and there's nothing wrong with that. College, real quickly, I have parents who start approaching the subject in 9th grade too early, 10th grade too early, start around 11th grade. 9th and 10th grade year, what I always tell parents is just kind of start getting them prepared for the SAT. And that doesn't need to be an intensive course just yet, even if it's just having them participate in some kind of like just some courses, or like getting them the book and having them practice on their own. One thing, which I know it's on a later slide, but one thing that we would like to begin offering here at the center is more of a focus group for our students within the 10th and the 11th grade years, because that's typically when they're starting to like get more serious about that test. Kind of just a focus group on getting them prepared for those reading passages, those writing passages, and how best to do and how to do well on those passages. And we'll work with that later on. We'll have a sign-up sheet for that. Student guide, did you want to do this one? Okay.
So this particular slide, when I was working on it, my daughter, who is also a 10th grader, and who will introduce herself, but she showed interest that she wanted to present. I think that's just appropriate that this is a student guide. It should be coming from a student. So.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Rida, and I'm a sophomore at International Academy East, and this is the student guide. So the first point that was already like stated previously was to stay realistic and have like short-term goals. Don't think like so far into the future. Think about what you're doing right now and like what you want to accomplish like this year. This goes hand in hand with like stay focused and disciplined. The major point is not to procrastinate. That's something that not just students but like everyone deals with, is procrastination, and you'll regret it like eventually, because you say like, oh, I'm gonna do it later. Like that later is gonna cause like a lot of stress. So even if it's like an assignment like you need help with and you're like, oh, I'm gonna deal with it later, just ask for help. Like there are so many people who can help you with that. And write down important due dates. Like organization is like a really big thing. You don't want to like have like 20 different assignments you don't know when they're due or anything. Write down important due dates when like important tests or assignments are due. That's like a really key thing. Time management, like strategize your study hours. Like start with easy work that doesn't take long. So if you start with easy work, you get all that stuff done, and then you move on to like the harder thing that like takes a while. And take breaks in between your homework. Don't like study for 2 hours straight. Then you're gonna end up like forgetting everything that you did. So take breaks. Make sure that you are not stressed. Taking breaks can help with the stress management. And yeah, that's basically all the key points.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to like touch base on say this all these points are just literally just like just the surface. Like all those things we can discuss more in detail if our community shows some interest for more focus groups, or like have a separate presentations or program done. And as Sister Amanda mentioned, You know your kid, you know their weaknesses and strengths. Work with that. If you are like, those things is easier said than done, just like, how not to procrastinate, even that thing, like this is sometimes it can be just human nature, you know what, I'm gonna get to that thing later. So how to work on that bad habit? There are resources. I cannot emphasize enough. There are resources available. You just have to talk and open up and try to find them. There are many after-school programs and their classes on time management. They are like months-long classes or programs just to how to manage your time properly. You just have to kind of like go through the process of finding it and going through it. So then, SAT prep is Sister Amanda.
Which I kind of already touched base on. Just let your kids start preparing ahead of time. It's not that, it's one of those things where you want them to try to score as well as they can, because it just gives them the competitive edge when they're applying to college. I don't want to go too much into it because that's more for our focus group down the line in the future, which we will talk about later on as we get the logistics of that figured out. Do you want to do this one? Okay, so just basically the ultimate goal, ladies and gentlemen, is you want your kids just to reflect on their goals in high school, determine how they're going to reach those goals, and kind of just set up an action plan for attaining those goals. And we're just there to support our parents, support our kids. We want to use all the resources, including the center, as a guide to ensure that our children are successful in the future and give back to the community.
I just wanted to take a few seconds and talk to students who are sitting here. We have talked a lot about as a parent, you need to understand your kids and their expectations. Sometimes, unfortunately, I, as a mother, and as a little older person, and seeing other kids talking and discussing among themselves, I feel that sometimes understanding is lacking from kids' side too. They also need to and should reach out to their parents, and if they don't understand what their parents are trying to say or instill them, have a discussion. So be open. We as a parent are on your team. We are not against or trying to pull you or put you down. We want you to see, get the success of life, get the best of everything. So as a parent, this is my humble request to all the youth that when you should try to reach out and to parents and try to understand them too. It is as important as a parent, we need to understand our kids and their generation and all those things. So there was just a humble request for all the youth, open up to your parents and try to understand them.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Thank you both for that wonderful and enlightening presentation. May Allah bless you both. And so I often, I get approached here in terms of, former students or even current students, even in the middle school system, the high school system, and they ask me, what can I do to make it into university? What can I do to sort of, succeed in high school? And from my experience, sometimes we need that approach from the student's own perspective. And so before I commence, or before I continue in presenting our former and current high school panel, I want to give everyone the opportunity. We will be passing around note cards because we'll be having a Q&A session right afterwards. And for those online, you can just type in your question in the chat, and we'll also answer those questions, inshallah. At this time, I would like to welcome our panel. Representing the STEM Academy is Ali Al-Rubayri, who is a 10th grader at Canton High School. Representing AP classes, we have Kumail Raza, who is also a 10th grader, but at Plymouth High School. Representing the IB Academy, we have Senior Mehdi Hamoud, who is at Salem High School. So we have essentially the park here. And representing Dole Enrollment, which is very important and very critical, and not as discussed, we have Sana Razvi, who is a junior at Northville High School. She also is the MSA president at Northville High School, and so we will talk about that a little bit more. I will help mitigate the questions after this and sort of just touch base a little bit if I want to talk or if I want to say anything important. And at this time, I would be honored to welcome them after a loud salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Just give them the microphone.
Anyone have any questions?
Or-
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Ali Al-Rabai, and I am representing the STEM Academy in this little portion. So, for those who don't know, the STEM Academy has 3 different pathways that applicants can join. Those are the biomedical pathway, computer science, and engineering. So, from what I've heard, I have friends in all of them, and I've heard good things about all of them. I'm in the biomedical pathway. So a quick rundown, all these courses are pretty hands-on, and all you need to do to succeed in them is take good notes, and that equals success. So with the biomedical pathway, which is what I'm mainly going to speak about, it teaches useful information if you want to go into a medical field, or anything that has to do with biology. And for all of the STEM, like the STEM Academy in general, the students have to apply before high school. And it takes 1 year, like 1 elective course each year. So that is a 4-year commitment. And again, you have to apply before high school. So this is something to look into if you're in 8th grade or even in just middle school in general. Look forward to it. Be ready to apply. It is a competitive thing. Although it's more based on a lottery system, you apply and they choose randomly on who gets in. As far as extracurriculars go, I am in the Biology Olympiad, the Health Occupation Students of America, Model UN, Canton Swim, and just something really quick I wanted to talk about extracurriculars. It's okay to pick and choose. There's a lot of clubs at PSEP specifically. Pick and choose, like if you see one that you think might be cool, go ahead, try it out, and don't be scared to drop it. If it's too much work or if you just don't enjoy it, go ahead and drop it. And then my last little topic I wanted to talk about, Imam Ali alayhi salam says to choose loneliness over ill friends. And that's something very important in all of life in general, but specifically in high school. Choose good friends and be able to let go of old friends. This is kind of a time where you see a lot of people that you used to be really close friends with start to change. And you see them going to be either better or worse. So be able to let go if they're not what you're looking for. People do change. And that's something you just have to accept. A lot of people go for the quantity of friends over the quality of friends. Don't look for having a large number. Look for having at least, like, you don't need friends if they're not good. Choose your good friends. Your friends reflect who you are. So if you're seen around people who aren't good, don't let yourself be put in that bad environment. And don't be afraid to talk with teachers, counselors. If you see yourself forced almost into an environment where it's not enjoyable and it's just not a good environment for you.
Yeah, so I just want to add on to that. Thank you, Brother Ali. Friends it's very important. I discussed this issue a while back, and in general, hanging out with the I thought, as being first generation here in the U.S. And going through the high school system, I've never seen High School Musical, but I thought that's how it was going to be like. You have the groups, like you have the jocks, you have the other social groups, right? And so that importance, right, of choosing your friends. If you choose good friends, you can help each other in terms of courses, right? If you have homework assignments, projects due, right? That can go a long way. They can be like, oh, take AP Bio with this teacher. No, don't take that. That's like the worst class ever. Like those kinds of things. Even though they might not help a little, but it's still very important that you have friends who agree with your goals, right? If you have friends who, if you want to go into the medical profession, if you have friends you surround yourself with who are competitive, who are doing their homework, who are doing positive things outside of school and in school. So with that, I want to pass the mic, it's already been passed, to Brother Kumail.
Alright, assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Kumail Raza. I'm a sophomore and a Plymouth student at PSEP. I play tennis, swimming, and inshallah I plan on joining wrestling. I took 1 AP as a freshman, and I'm taking 4 APs right now as a sophomore. And I'd like to quickly discuss what I know about APs and whatever I can help you guys with. So what is AP? AP is an advanced placement course, which is like a college level course, extremely rigorous. And it's difficult, true, but it has several benefits that comes with it. For example, when you're applying for college, you can show that you have taken regular challenging courses, and that you have challenged yourself. Another benefit is weighted GPA. APs give you a higher GPA. For example, if I had a B in an AP course, it would count as an A, and I still have a 4.0 weighted GPA. Or if I had an A in an AP course, I'll get above the 4.0. Another benefit is college credit. So financially, it's better because you'll save from tuition. You could go into college with already having credit if you do well in an AP course. And one way to get AP college credit is to get above a 3 on an AP exam, which I'll cover shortly. So this exam occurs usually around May. You prepare the whole year for this exam. Generally, if you get above a 3, you pass, but some colleges only accept 4s and 5s. If you pass, you get college credit, and that's pretty much it for APs. One last thing I like to talk about before I finish is MSA. Many Shias don't feel comfortable about going to MSA because there's a very low Shia representation and it's Sunni dominated. But we're only gonna have a Shia representation if we start showing up. We can't expect Sajdagas to be at MSA if there are no Shias. We have to be there to make it a change. So we can slowly start showing up. Show that there is a Shia population here, and then there could be changes that are made, and then MSA could actually potentially be a unity between Shias and Sunnis. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for my time and pass the mic to Brother Ahmed.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صل على محمد.
We need a louder salawat, please. That's better, thank you. So, thank you very much for that, Brother Kumail. And I can't really add too much to that. I can't really do anything because he's absolutely correct in terms of AP. I took lots of the AP courses offered at PSEP, as well as at my old high school, and they benefited me a lot. For example, for me, the hardest class, this is my opinion, hardest class I've ever taken at PSEP, right, was AP Biology. It was being taught by one of my favorite teachers, known as Miss Pence. She retired now. But that class, I'm a 3rd year in college at U of M, and the hardest class to date that I've taken personally is the AP Biology course. It not only, made me think about what, my goals are, right? It made me gain lots of study habits. It also, it shook me, I was like, I want to go into this path. I want to study biochemistry, I want to study biology, but if I can't do it here, then how am I supposed to do it at a competitive university? And so I dug deep. I went after school. I annoyed Miss Pence a lot, and I ended up being one of her favorite students to date. And so I learned a lot from that experience, as well as gaining that opportunity to earn college credits, and it also helps me in college right now. And so I highly recommend taking, these upper level courses. Challenge yourself in high school so that when you get to college, you're ready, okay? And thank you very much, Brother Kumail. At this time, I want to pass the mic. It's already been passed again. They're beating me. To Brother Mehdi Hamoud. After a loud salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Mehdi. Like Ahmed said, I'm a senior at Salem High School and I'm in the IB program. So IB, unlike all the other programs that we talked about so far, is completely exclusive. So once you're in the IB program, you can't do any AP classes and you can't really be in the STEM program either. So, but it won't actually start until your 11th grade year. So 9th and 10th grade is pretty much the same thing, but you'll be with just IB students, even though you'll take all the normal classes and everything. So you can still do whatever extracurriculars you want, but you still have to make the requirements, like have an art credit and have biology and chemistry, all like the basic stuff. So one of the biggest things about IB is that it prepares you for college. So the classes are more in-depth. We write college papers a lot, and so we take classes that are outside of normal classes, like theory of knowledge, which is basically a philosophy course. So IB also increases your GPA and your class rank and all that kind of stuff, and helps you get a lot of college credits. So basically in IB, we have standard level classes and higher level classes. And standard level classes are your honors equivalent, so it doesn't really help you as much, but you still get a lot of depth from the classes and like a lot of learning out of it. The higher level classes count for college credit and help you in your future. So things like if you want to go into, like Ahmed is a medical student, you could take HL biology or HL chemistry, and these things would count for college credit. So like for me, for example, I'm going to go into college with about 33 IB credits, like 33 college credits already done. That's pretty much almost 1 year of college already like fully paid for, I think everything like that. And then, so the best thing about high school, I think, is the ability to choose your classes and to experiment with what you like and what you don't like. So it's kind of like if you're experimenting with going into a medical profession, you can go take extracurriculars like biomedical terminology and things like that. And then also, if you when you go into high school, you have to be prepared for things that you'll see. It's kind of weird how a building filled with teenagers that are away from their parents tend to break a few rules. So you just have to be aware. You don't have to do everything. If your friends are going to a homecoming dance and you know what will happen at a homecoming dance, it's probably not the best idea to go with them. And then also I wanted to touch on how everyone probably wants to do APs and IBs to get as much college credit as they can, but you also have to balance it out, because you don't want to take 6 AP credits and just not be able to do the work and not do as well in the class. Because if you take all AP classes and then you're not doing very well in them, it's just what's the point? You're just wasting your time, wasting everything. It's not gonna benefit you at all. And yeah, that's it.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Thank you very much, Brother Mehdi, for that. And definitely, I did not know that much about IB, and that explained a lot. Thank you. As well, I don't really have too much to add. I see we have the questions ready. That makes me very happy. So, as Mehdi said, right? You don't have to do everything in high school. I know, when I'm talking like I was in high school 11 years ago, but it was just like yesterday, right? The good old days. I was in freshman year, or when I moved here in 2017, in the middle of my sophomore year, I met some fellow Muslim brothers. And for me, it was the first time, because back in St. Charles, Missouri, where I was born and raised, I was the only Muslim student there. And so seeing Muslim brothers, I was very happy, very excited. I wanted to be their friends, because they know me, they understand me, they understand what it means to be Muslim in the United States. However, one time I was walking with them, they're like, "Are you going to homecoming?" And I was like, "No, I don't see what I need to do at homecoming." And he's like, "No, bro, you have to. You're required to. Wallahi, bro, you're required to." I was like, "No, you're not, man. I don't remember anywhere in the code of conduct or anything saying about that." And I was like, "I know what goes on at homecoming. I'm not gonna go into the specifics." But I was like, he was shocked. He was like, "No, you're required. That's what I told my parents." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, see, now you're crossing lines." So I want to remind and I want to stress to the students that you're not required to do these things, as Mehdi said it. If you see your friends going to homecoming or prom, remember that you're a Muslim, that you're Shia, that you have convictions. Your parents raised you, they taught you these things, these important qualities of being a Muslim, of doing the right things, right? And would you say maybe going to homecoming and prom is a really good environment for a Muslim youth here in the U.S.? Raise your hands if you think that's a good environment to be in. I won't judge anyone, don't worry. Yeah. See? So use your logic, right? Choose your friends wisely, as Adi said, right? And at this time, I would be honored to pass the mic over to Sister Sana after Allah salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, I'm Sana and I'm a junior at Northville High School. So for dual enrollment, it's an opportunity for kids in high school to take a class at an actual college and earn college credit, high school credit, or both at the same time. So for me in high school, I took Spanish 1, I took Spanish 2, and I was thinking about it and I'm like, I don't really want to take Spanish 3. I don't think I'm ever going to use it. We don't really have a lot of people who speak Spanish here in Michigan. And me coming from a family that speaks Urdu, I really wanted to learn Arabic. And so my school didn't offer Arabic at school, so I went to the office and asked about possibly taking an Arabic class. So since my school didn't offer Arabic, our local college, Schoolcraft College, had an Arabic class. So I was able to go to the college and be with college students and actually take an Arabic class there for 2 semesters. It's a good opportunity because it's better to do a college class while in high school because your school and the state will actually pay for most of it. So similar to an AP class, there is a smaller fee, but it's way cheaper than taking a college class when you're actually in college. And it's a good way to take classes that you're interested in, even if they're not available at your high school. I'm also president of Northville MSA, and another thing to talk about with that is be confident about being Shias. I remember to our first meeting, I brought 6 thorbas. I was like, let's just bring them and see what happens. And they all got used up. I was really surprised. I found out 3 other people were Shia. And also, be confident and lead clubs if you feel that you're worthy. Don't be afraid that being Shia will put you behind. Even being Muslim will put you behind. I remember I used to do basketball in middle school, and I wanted to do basketball in high school, but I was scared. I was like, I don't know what they're going to think about me being a hijabi, going and playing a sport. And so I didn't go to tryouts, and then next thing I know, I walked past the gym, and I saw a hijabi playing basketball, and so I really regretted that. So if you're interested in something, try it out. High school is a really good opportunity to explore your interests and really figure out what you want to do in the future.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you, Sister Sana, for that. Thank you to this academic panel for their wisdom, for their experience. As I said, the success of a community depends on their youth. And when we have youth here sitting down on a Sunday at around almost 12 now, and talking about their experiences to help guide the next generation, that's what being a part of Mecca is all about in my vision, right? And so some of the things that I wanted to add to that is dual enrollment is something that's not really talked about. I know when I went through high school, I learned about dual enrollment during my senior year of high school. And it's a very good opportunity. So I would say look into it, talk to your counselors, talk with your parents about it, research it online, right? We have the internet, we're on it like 24/7, use it wisely. And so that's why I think dual enrollment, it saves you a lot of money, it's very good. And something I wanted to talk about was MSA, the Muslim Student Association, brought by Brother Kumail and Sister Sana, right? And so when I went to MSA, as I said, I was very excited, but I found out that I was like one of the only Shias there. During my year, there was some prejudice against Shia. So what I regret not doing is trying to change, use my voice to change something. Be like, actually, Shias are not bad. We're people. This is, we're here, right? We're not all alone. And that's something I wish I did. However, I chose the path of silence, and I went and avoided it, right? But here, we have an MSA president. We have brothers here, brothers and sisters at PSEP who are going to MSA, and I'm pretty sure they are going to be the generation to change how MSA is done, how Salat al-Jama'ah is done. And so I believe in them. We should all believe in them, and we should help guide this next generation. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. So at this time, I want to open to the panel, to everyone here, and I will be going over the questions that were asked. So let's get started with the first question here. When you live in a good neighborhood, what's the benefit / reason for sending your children to charter schools versus public schools?
Can you read that one more time?
Yeah, sure thing. So when you live in a good neighborhood, what's the benefit or reason for sending your children to charter schools versus public schools?
It really just depends on what you're trying to get out of the educational system. When you live in a good neighborhood, I would recommend the public school route because your child has a lot more opportunity. The charter school route is more for if you're looking for specific things like smaller classroom sizes, but that depends on the charter school. In my experience, and I can only speak from my own experience, a lot of peers who I know who do send their children to a charter school is because they are not satisfied with the public school system in their neighborhood. So it really just depends on what you're looking for. But if you have a good public school, send your child to the public school system.
I have some other ideas because I have my two sons went to one of the charter schools in Canton. When we moved to Canton 10 years ago, I had a neighbor from Pakistan. So I had a neighbor from Pakistan. For the first year, my son went to one of the public schools, and he was actually, I think, in 4th grade. And we moved from Dearborn, and I saw lots of difference from, because there was a big difference between the schools in Dearborn and also in Canton. They were celebrating, the Halloween, and they were celebrating in Dearborn as well, but it was really different, So my neighbor, which was from Pakistan, recommended me to take my kids to charter school, and I'm really happy about that because they have uniforms. The school is very small. The parents can get into the school, can go to the school and see what their kids are doing during the lunchtime, during the recess, and see who your kids are playing with, and also it's very diverse, and it was really beneficial for us because 10 years ago there were not that much Muslims in Canton. When I went to Workman Elementary School as a parent for the open house, I was the only woman with the hijab, and everyone else was like white. I was feeling that no, I didn't feel different from them. So, but we really felt like more comfortable when we went to Achieve Charter Academy, and they had a uniform. There were like more Muslims over there, and they had some Muslim friends, and they were so comfortable with that.
Thank you very much. Does anyone want to add to that?
So as far as charter schools go and that against public schools, a lot of people think that in the charter school you won't see any bad things. It's not true. You're going to experience the same things or at least close to the same things in charter school versus public school. You're going to have the bad stuff. It really just depends on how you raise your children or the kids themselves. So they make their own decisions, and the idea that parents can really influence a lot of it only lasts so long. So maybe in elementary school, but as they grow up and they get into middle school and high school, they're going to make their own decisions at that point.
And so this sort of ties into the next question here, and it's how do you deal with peer pressure when it comes to boy / girlfriends and things like homecoming? So, who wants to answer this?
Okay, so I know my first year was the COVID year, so 10th grade, was the first time that, the event of homecoming was happening. And I remember I told my friends, I'm like, I don't really want to go to homecoming, and I actually made them do our own halal coming, as I called it. And we went to downtown Northville and we got sushi, we got boba. And so we did that instead of going to homecoming. And I know this year, I kind of felt bad about it after. I was like, I stopped them from doing something they really wanted to do. You know, most of them weren't Muslim. I know one's a Christian, one's a Hindu. And this year they did go to homecoming. But I'm glad I did that first year because it gave me the confidence to be like, no, I don't have to go. And you don't have to fall into that. I think it's just building yourself, your own confidence, and finding people around you that think the same way. Like find the other Muslims, and especially if they're Muslim, they'll know what's halal, what's haram, and you can influence them and you can gain good influence from them as well.
So when dealing with peer pressure, kind of ties into what I said earlier. Choose good friends, surround yourself with friends who will put you to be a better person. Have conviction to your religion, like Islam for example. Understand why you're following what you're following. Like eating halal for example. You see people eating marshmallows for example. Know why you can't, and know why you're following Islam. Don't just follow it because your parents did.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I know lots of people who are only Muslim by name, right? So learn about your religion. There's valuable resources. We have Mecca here, so asking our honorable scholar Sayyid Salah Qazwini, who is also available on WhatsApp. Also, islam.org, which is a very pivotal resource for, since we all read and understand English. Sometimes Arabic gets, some of us don't read Arabic. So having that English translation and explaining pivotal topics that we as youth face is very important. So learn about it, educate yourself. And in terms of, like he said, surround yourself by good people. I know from my experience, if you're taking upper level courses and you're going to be surrounded by students who are like-minded, who are aiming for the number one goal here in Michigan, and State University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, right? So everyone is studying and everyone's stressed, right? So you tend to see that a lot of people don't have enough time to do the other stuff that normal high schoolers do, right? That high school experience that's driving me crazy. That's all I have to say in terms of that. So remain diligent in your studies. Talk to your parents. Communicate. I don't know why it's so shunned as youth. Like I know when I was in high school or even now, sometimes like you talk to your parents, you talk to your teachers. What? No, they don't understand us, bro. And so I'm like, what do you mean? Like they're our resource. They're our parents. They're our teachers, right? So use those resources wisely. And use your logic, right? We're not just robots here walking and we're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to follow a group. No, Allah gave you the intellect. Use that to your best judgment. If you know what's going to happen at homecoming, I like halal coming, right? That sounds really awesome. If you know what's going to happen, you're 100% you're going to be held accountable for that. You know what's going to happen there, so don't go. It's as easy as that, right? And so that's all I have to add. Does anyone want to add anything further?
So this is just from my own personal experience, and in my case, at least, it worked miraculously. So I would like to share that. When daughter was growing up, when she was around middle school, we kind of just discussing regular stuff, as a parent and a child. And I noticed, and as a child, I remember that I never liked to be compared with another kid. When my mom said, oh, look at that, and that kid is doing this, and that, and what are you doing? So we were discussing comparison, and of course, I was expecting, and we made a rule in our household that we are not going to compare, just talk as an individual. So moving forward, when all those kind of peer pressure that we are talking about, I want to do it because that person is doing it. So my response is always as a parent is, if you want to compare, that person is doing, which is actually potentially can be harmful. So am I allowed to then compare you with another kid academically, maybe in some cases, or even religiously or socially or any way? Trust me, most of the time they don't want you to go there. So it's more again, having open talk with your child and figure it out, like what works best within your household. But at the same token, like, then follow through it. Most of the time, like, I always like joke with my daughter, she's sitting right there. As a parent, just like, just be a step ahead, okay, you want to do this thing, peer pressure, but the bad things, then let's do it the good things too. They won't like it. Trust me for that.
Yeah, and for the parents, talk with your children. It's not just about academics, right? Our youth, we're humans, right? We have emotional, we have emotions, and so, in terms of, I know from, my perspective and from, from the communities, right? Lots of people are just like, go to school and study, right? But we also have to understand that there are many things that go on in our high school systems, in our middle school systems, even in university, right? And we have to constantly communicate, as the sister said. And so I guess this segues again into another question here. Do you feel different from other students as a Muslim student? How do you handle that?
I don't think I feel that different. Alhamdulillah, I think in both schools, in PSEP and Northville, we have a good amount of Muslims nowadays. I know I see like hijabis in the hallways, stuff like that. I don't know, it really doesn't cross my mind that much. But when events do come up, like homecoming, stuff like that, then you kind of have to realize I am different, I do have to do things differently. But in the academic sense, I don't think anything's really that different.
Yeah, so just to add to that, right? I'm gonna throw in one of my mother's famous quotes, and she says, when you go to school, learn as much as you can, and when you come home, filter it out. Throw away all the bad things, and then in the trash can, right? As I walk in, there's the garage with the trash cans. Throw everything out that's bad, and then come in and have the good things, right? So be friends with people, learn from them, right? But don't go chasing after the bad things, right? Learn, okay, so I have to take AP courses next year, and this is when the application cycle opens. Okay, I have to write those things down. Or this teacher's good, let me write that down. But, this new word I learned, I should probably use, no, don't write that down, throw that away, okay? Or avoid those friends, so those things, help you. And as a person that was the only Muslim at my high school, it's hard. It gets really difficult when you're like, I have Eid, and they're like, what the heck is that, right? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Is that like an amino acid shortcode or something? And so you just have to learn to stand on your feet, talk with people, use your online resources, use your parents. My parents were, they were there for me when I needed them the most, and so they helped guide me through that, right? The community centers, even in St. Louis, we had a very small community, and that's where I was raised, and they provided a structure and a backbone. They're like, you have to achieve success, you have to avoid the bad things, so that you can build a stable future. And so that's what we all here want for our Mecca youth, because even here, we have people who claim to be Muslims, right? But, they teach, they say otherwise, right? So we need to learn from that as well. That's all I have to say for that. Does anyone want to add anything? Alright, so moving on to this next question. That's not a segue, but is getting an A in general chemistry better or getting a B in honors in high school? Person interested in engineering. So let me try to understand this question.
So I think they're saying, like, is an A in regular chemistry better than a B in honors chem?
Try to strive to get A's in every class that's non-AP or IB. So, because in AP and IB, if you get, I don't know if it's with IB, but with AP, if you get a B, right, it still is like, it counts like an A. But if it's general chemistry or honors chemistry and you get a B, that's going to lower your GPA. So strive to get an A. In high school, you have opportunities to earn an A. Talk with your teachers. Stay after school. Khan Academy is a very pivotal resource, right? So you have no excuse. I worked a lot in terms of chemistry, as it used to be a subject I struggled in, but there is a way out in terms of these hard classes, and it's ask your teachers, annoy them, right? They're there for you. Use your online resources, and use your friends as well, right? Does anyone want to add to that?
So as far as honors classes go, you see them a lot. They're really just faster moving versions of the regular class. Although they don't give you that college credit or anything like that. And they will drop your GPA if you do score low enough. The only benefit to them really is that they look a little better on your transcript.
So, are there any community colleges which accept students to take classes at which school grade to enroll? So, dual enrollment.
So just looking into that, it really depends also on the school. In my home district, which is Livonia, I was reading on their website that they can start as little as 9th grade. Start take one dual enrollment here and there. It really just depends on the actual student and what the policy is. So the policy at PSEP is that you can take a dual enrollment class if that class is not offered within the park. If it's offered within the park, then you can't. Now, does that mean that your child can't take a class in the summertime? Nope. Your kid can take a class in the summertime, but you're just paying for it. It's really just the only difference. And we come back to, you know your child. If your child can handle it, phenomenal. Maybe encourage them to do a class or two. If not, don't push them too hard. Yeah, at some level, we also worry about burnout. And that summer is really used to kind of recharge. You know, a class here and there should be okay if you can build it into their 11th or 12th grade schedule, but you don't want to go overboard with it.
Yeah, and as someone, you know, who's seen a lot of these courses at times, it depends on, everyone learns at a different pace. So you see some people who take all AP courses their sophomore year or junior year, and that's fantastic. But others, you know, they're like, I can't do that because I don't understand what this teacher is talking about in terms of thermodynamics. I don't understand that. And sometimes it does get a little tricky, right? But, you know, make sure everyone is going through their own step, right? They all have different maturity levels. They all will understand different subjects differently than other people, right? So maybe, you know, for some people, they take APs in their senior year, which is perfectly normal, right? They only take like maybe one AP their junior year and all APs their senior year or something like that. But it all depends. It all depends on how well they can handle those subjects, right? So that's all I have to say in terms of that. Is everyone learns at their own pace. So just try to take those courses whenever you feel ready, right? Don't take AP Bio if you're a freshman and you've never taken biology before, but you're like, I need to get into U of M because my parents were telling me to. So use some logic behind that. So.
Just to support that, there are systems put in place to ensure that they're not going overboard. So they could probably take like one, maybe two max AP classes within the 9th grade year. With my own freshmen, I have not seen them take more than one, and that's just one. But the whole loading of AP classes, I don't see it until 10th grade, to be honest. 9th grade is a year of getting them to adapt to the system, getting them to learn how to navigate high school, and it's a place more for like support and building routine, not necessarily trying to get them to take a whole bunch of courses.
So for 9th graders, how do you encourage them to participate in these programs? Is there some kind of guidance for them?
So really it starts at the middle school year. So let's just say that your kid is a student within the Plymouth Can educational system, then counselors will go over there and they'll kind of just start providing information on what these different programs are, and then you yourself should talk to other community members to find out if that is a program that you're interested in going into. If your child does not know what they want to be just yet, that is okay. They don't need to be in a program. I would rather they not say, oh, let me just try the STEM program, but then they don't enjoy the STEM program and they're in a class that they're just not enjoying. Or same thing with the IB program. If they don't like it, they have to know what they're getting into first. So if they do want to start just with the classes that everybody else takes within the 9th grade year, that is totally fine. At some point, If it comes to be that they're like, oh, I really do want to be in the IB program, then they can speak with their counselor about options there, or the STEM program, or the Arts Academy, or whatever other programs that they have.
What are some ways to figure out what I want to be when I'm older? And then, are you able to do multiple clubs? I can quickly answer the second question, yes. So lots of our youth here are doing multiple clubs. So, but it's always try to do quality over quantity, right? When you're applying to universities, you know, you have, like they want to see your passion, not just, you know, I did like 16 clubs, I'm very involved. No, like what's something you can talk about that you're passionate about, you know? Don't waste your time doing things that just look good. Do something that you actually like doing, because chances are when you apply, they're like, oh wow, this person like, he's part of the bicycle club, and he did a bunch of tricks, and he's really cool at that. So that's really cool, and you can talk about that.
Yeah, I think, again, freshman and sophomore year is really your chance to take, you know, regular classes or honors classes, whatever, and take them in a variety of different fields. Like take a science class, take a math class, take random classes, and see what you're really interested in, and then you can further your knowledge in that. So I think freshman and sophomore year are really important in figuring out what you like and taking a variety of classes.
Yeah, so one of the classes that I took that was very interesting was I took a digital media and arts class at Salem High School. This was by accident because my counselor was like, we're gonna place you in there. And I actually really enjoyed it. It was, I remember it was a very dark classroom. I was very creepy, and I had no experience doing digital art whatsoever. So I'd be drawing like a stick figure, and you'd come over here and you'd see like the equivalent to like the Mona Lisa, right? So, but it was fun. I learned, and I still do it to this day. So that's something to think about. Try out, seek those alternative courses, right? You know, make your schedule fun, balance it out. How do you recommend staying focused on schoolwork but also maintaining a halal / healthy friendship?
Well, I think that you just, like Ali and Ahmed were saying before, if you pick friends that are good and they believe in the same thing you believe, like if you have other Muslim friends, then you guys will have, like, your values are going to be the same thing, so you're going to work toward those values. Like, everyone's going to work toward the same thing, which means that you guys can support each other on the way, like, on your path to succeed.
Alright, so is it okay if you don't take any AP or IB classes?
It is absolutely okay. I usually sometimes will tell this to the kids, like I'll have a couple of them say, I'm not interested in taking any. Am I still going to get to college? Yes, you're going to get to college. When some of us, you know, the older people in here who were in high school, we did not have nearly that many options. There wasn't an IB, there was like maybe like 3 or 4 AP classes. This is back in the early 2000s. There was not all that, and we all went off to college. We were all successful. You will be fine. There's a lot of kids fall into the, oh, my friends are doing it, therefore I need to do it. No, do what you're comfortable with, because you know your limits. Some kids are just content, and there's nothing wrong with that, content with taking their language arts classes, content with taking their social studies classes, their math classes, their science classes, and then having the ability to choose different classes. Now, if you know your child is very, very studious and academic and they do a very great job, push them, absolutely. But no one kid is the same. You might have a kid who enjoys all that, and then you have another kid who is just taking their classes, getting good grades, and are content with that. Both are equally fine. The end goal is that they go off to school, any school, and that could be college or trade school, and make something of themselves. It doesn't have to be, you know, the utmost of, you know, oh, okay, you know, doctor, lawyer, and that's your only two options. Encourage them to do what they want to do. And this is just coming from 9 years of experience and watching students go many different routes. And, you know, seeing some kids who did not take any AP courses, did not do any dual enrollment classes, but everything just clicked into place when they got into college and are now doctors, mashallah. They go through different phases and they mature at different ages, at different times of their life, and that's okay. As parents, we want to constantly like say, look at this boy, he's taking 4 classes that are AP or 3 classes. Like my own son is trying to get to a few of them, and I'm just like taking a step back, like, well, we're gonna calm that down just a tad bit because I know what could happen. You depend. Now, if your kid is phenomenal, excellent, push them for those 4 classes. Honestly, it's phenomenal. But not every kid is the same, all right?
Okay, we have to follow up here.
I just wanted to add a follow-up. My name is Brother Ali Saad. I'm actually in my last year of college. I'm actually going to be going to med school in the future, inshallah. And I was one of those kids, I didn't take AP classes. I didn't like it. I didn't like the course load. I didn't like that. I liked having the college experience and like that course load and seeing. So I took 2 AP classes. I took AP Bio and I took AP Literature because I wanted to get those requirements out the way because I knew that that was what I liked. But when I got to college, I was accepted to U of M Dearborn. I didn't go to Ann Arbor. I was accepted. Right now I'm sitting in the top 2% of my class. I'm 3rd ranked overall. I just took my MCAT. I'm applying. I've been deferred from Ann Arbor, which is good. I've gotten multiple acceptances. I just received news 2 weeks ago about getting accepted as well. And alhamdulillah, no, I'm thriving, and I didn't take AP classes. I didn't do the IB program. I wasn't that big of an overachiever. I was very bare minimum, especially when I moved here because I was one of the only Muslim kids, so I was afraid of that. So don't think your AP or doing IB equals success. Anybody can be successful even if they're taking a regular course load. Yeah, AP and IB and honors, that'll all look good. It'll make you a competitor in those top colleges. But at the same day, I know many people that started off in community colleges and now they're some of the most successful people on earth. I know people that didn't go to college. If you want to go to college, there are certain things you have to do, and there are certain things you need to focus on your school, get good grades, focus on all that, make yourself a competitor, and you do not have to take AP and honors classes to be considered this top student that every college wants you. Colleges want diversity, they want other people, they want people that are competitive, and if you work hard and you put the time in, you'll go anywhere you want in the world.
Not to be confused with don't take AP classes or dual enrollment, take them.
Yes.
Not to be confused, take them. By all means, take them. But the question was, is that my only option? And no, that is not your only option. Take them. We're not saying not to. But you, again, you know your child. If your child is bright and your child can handle it, push them. Why would we not push them? But we all have kids who are just content with going to school, doing what they need to do, going to the extracurriculars, and they just have a pet. There's nothing wrong with that too. So yes, I don't want anyone to think that we're saying not to go the extra mile. Go the extra mile. But also, if you have a kid who is not interested in AP and dual enrollment and IB, it's also okay. Because not all children are the same.
I mean, yeah, I think Ali covered it, and between you and them, you covered it. I just wanted to make it clear that it's good to take those AP classes. Unfortunately, the system, the college system nowadays, you see rates of acceptance between 4 and 5 or 6%, as low as that much. So it's so important that in order to compete with others to get accepted, that you would have to take those classes. Otherwise, your chances are less. You still can do it. We have an example here. Inshallah, Ali would go to UFM Medical School, but unfortunately, you need to take those advanced classes to make your chances more.
I just wanted to add a little bit now with as brother mentioned, acceptance rate are getting so competitive, it's 4 to 5%, and in some cases it's as low as 1 to 2% if you're going for really competitive schools. For that, all those AP classes, IB programs, academics are important, but now colleges have started looking for more well-rounded students. So 4.0s are only going to take you only that far, so I cannot emphasize again enough that to become that more well-rounded student, do those clubs, start a new club, be active with sports, volunteering, community work as a community worker somewhere. So again, resources are there. You just have to find them. So AP courses, having a 4.0 GPA is very important, but being well-rounded student is definitely way more important. So pay attention to extracurricular activities too.
Yeah. So these courses, right? As we are told, as Muslims, we are told to seek knowledge, right? So the main reason why I personally took these AP courses, why I took these honor courses, is to get ready for college. I knew that if I'm applying to U of M, and if I do get in, and I'm stepping into organic chemistry, I better have a solid foundation, right? Because I want to be off to a head start. It's better to be ahead than to be behind, right? Especially for example, in your prayers, right? Isn't it better to pray your prayers on time than to, sit there at night, you're like, oh no, I forgot Fajr or Dhuhr and Asr, right? So it's always a beneficial, point to stay ahead, right? So take those courses, but sometimes what my AP bio teacher used to tell me is that if they offered AP toilet water, a lot of people would take that just because it's AP. Not necessarily. Take the courses that will help guide you to your path, right? I wanted to do biochemistry, I knew that, and so I took AP Bio, Chem. I took those courses that would help me test out and get off to a running head start. It's like a track. You're running on a track, and if you're out there, you're pacing yourself. You have a good basis to base yourself off of, right? You're gonna be very good. Especially now. I'm in cell biology and biochemistry right now, and the courses that I learned in high school, especially in AP Bio or AP Chem, they're paying off because some people don't know those things. And I'm like, oh, actually it's this. I learned this back in high school, this mnemonic. That's all I had for that. What are the possibilities of doing homeschooling for grades 9 through 12? And then a follow-up question is how to get those required books.
Can you repeat that?
So what are the possibilities of doing homeschooling for high school?
Just to whoever asked that, do you mean within the virtual academy? Or an actual homeschool system where the parent is choosing the curriculum? Because there's two different types.
This is a follow-up question of how to get the required books. So I think it's the, if they wanted to do full homeschooling.
So if someone wanted to do a homeschooling right?
Amanda, why don't you just speak to the virtual academy?
Yeah, I know that, so I can speak to the virtual academy. So the virtual academy, the books are all available because it's still being run by teachers within the district, which means you're able to see the curriculum, and your child is essentially staying at home and just zooming into a teacher who is only a virtual teacher within the park. So they still have the same credentials and they still are following the same curriculum that the park is offering. In terms of homeschool, where you're choosing which books, topics your child wants to learn, that's an entirely different ball game, which I would not know how to speak to because I don't homeschool. But if you want your kid just to be able to stay home for, maybe they're just comfortable with that, then there is a virtual opportunity for that.
So what APs can you take in IB?
You can't take any AP and IBs, right?
Yeah, you can. So I believe it's an 8th grade.
So if you're going to the IB program, you can take APs in your 9th and 10th grade years. But once you're in the IB program, just APs are just not a thing you can do. But within the IB program, like I said before, you have the standard level classes and the higher level classes. And the higher level classes in IB do count similarly to AP credit. So you still get college credit out of those classes.
And then our last question here, what is the difference between dual enrollment, AP, and IB courses in terms of college credits? Then for dual enrollment, how does transportation work? And finally, do you take a test for all of them?
Can I answer that? Dual enrollment, AP, and
IB.
okay. So dual enrollment and AP, those two I can speak to. AP, it's a year-long commitment to the class, and there is a test in May that you're taking, and you have to pass with a 3. But it is, a lot of people sometimes just don't know this, it is up to the college to decide if they're going to accept those scores. They typically will accept between a 4 and a 5. It depends on the college. Those are great classes, especially if you're learning, if you're practicing with study habits and getting skills that might not be focused on in other classes. Phenomenal. Dual enrollment classes, transportation has to come from the student and the parent themselves. So like our juniors typically will drive on their own. But younger, obviously they have to. Dual enrollment is not dependent on a test. You go, you take the class, so long as you're passing the class with, I'm pretty sure it's at least a C, but so long as you're passing the class, you are guaranteed credit. So why some students choose dual enrollment over AP is because it is a semester requirement and credit is 100% guaranteed, so long as they pass the class. AP classes are a year-long commitment and credit is dependent on if you pass the test. Now, some kids like to take AP classes because they genuinely enjoy the content and the discussion, and that's fine. The issue with some kids is they know that they're not a good test taker, and that sways them away from taking an AP course because they don't want to take an entire year of a class and then not be able to earn college credit if they don't do well on the AP test. So that instead pushes them to take a college dual enrollment class instead because it's 100% a guarantee that you're going to earn the credit. So in my years of doing this, I've had a couple kids graduate with anywhere between 30, sometimes 60 credits, and that's 2 years of college done, strictly from dual enrollment classes. Because if you look at college applications, they'll tell you what score they're going to accept, but there's always a disclaimer there that says it is up to the school to decide if they'll accept that credit or not at the end of the day. And then what was the other one?
How is for IB the difference?
So for IB, it's pretty similar to AP. So IB courses are 2 years long. That's why you're doing 11th and 12th grade for the IB courses. And at the end of your 12th grade year in April, May-ish, you take your IB exams. And then so, depending on your score on the IB exam, that's how colleges decide how many credits to give you. So a lower score on the IB exam, if you pass, would give you, for, like I have it pulled up right now for U of M, for IB biology, it would give you 4 credits for getting just a passing grade, like an average grade on the IB bio test. But if you get a perfect score on the IB bio test, you get up to 9 credits, which is 2 bio classes for U of M in Arbor.
So you save like $5,000 to your parents. Good deal.
I have a question, teacher. Amanda, and you can answer. So for the dual enrollment, the students just have to go to their counselor and tell them that I want to take this course, which is not offered at this high school, and the counselors would arrange which college or something like, or
So they
yeah.
So they generally have an agreement with a school. So Canton does not have a community college, so they'll have an agreement with Schoolcraft. In Dearborn, for example, they have Henry Ford Community College, which is within the city. So so our students are able to, like, let's just say in Dearborn, they're able to take those classes because they're not, in Dearborn, the elective offering is not as, there is not as much variety as you would see at PSEP, for example. Now, if the class is offered at PSEP, like let's just say there's a kid who wants to take Spanish, they're not going to grant that. They're going to say, no, we have it at the school. But if there's another class that the child is interested in and they've met their requirements within the school, then yes, they will let them take that class.
Okay.
And then, is there like for AP, is there like a difference between the tests? Like for AP, like let's say I take an AP test, Is it like IB that I get more credits based on a higher score, or is it just like the same amount of credits?
The score is the score, so 3, 4, and 5, as so long as you pass the test. Now, with the 3, I tell the kids you're kind of getting into like, kind of like, you're kind of getting in muddy water because it is up to the school to decide. Some schools will take it. Michigan State University, last I checked, will take a 3. But Ann Arbor, to my knowledge, takes a 4, right? All right, so it just depends on the school.
I know for, when I was looking into SANAs for the dual enrollment, I know through Northville, I don't know whether it's the same in Canton, or maybe they can come up with something like that with Schoolcraft in the coming years, is that they had a complete associate's degree program, either in marketing or in business, etc. So like she wouldn't graduate along with her peers, but graduate a year later, but then graduate with an associate's degree. So that option is there, and might be coming up in Canton and other schools as well.
Yeah, it's a program where your child stays 1 extra year within the high school system. To my knowledge, PSEP does not have this, but I know Northville does, and I'm 100% positive that Dearborn has it. It is, your child stays in high school 1 additional year, but then they are graduating with their associate's degree at the age of 19 or 18 for some of our younger kids, which is great. But if I'm correct, it's limited to specific programs. So if your child is not interested in any of those like 4, 5, 6 programs, then it might not be to their advantage. Whereas dual enrollment would be to their advantage if they just want to get some credits out of the way.
Thank you all very much. And I just wanted to add a reminder that our paths are all different. We are all tested in different ways. So, make sure to talk with your parents, reach out for help, reach out, to the community. So we have a community here, mashallah. And so, use us, right? Talk to us. And we want to make sure that every one of our youth is as successful. And so that's how we want to build Mecca, inshallah. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for attending this program. Please continue to let us know if these are the types of programs you are looking for, especially ones for the future in terms of college navigation, applying for colleges. If you want to see something like that. I want to thank the respected teachers and professionals here. I want to thank the academic forum panel here of former and current students. And so this is our next generation here, and I'm very proud of them, and I'm very proud of everyone as we strive to build our Mecca family. May Allah bless you all, and sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.